This Manchester United transfer news live at 8 o'clock as per usual. Lukaku has apparently agreed terms to go to Inter Milan. Sergio Ramos is going to leave Real Madrid, and some Manchester United fans think he'd be a great signing for us. And just to do it, because we've got to do it on every bloody show at the moment, the latest with De Ligt is this. I mean, we've done enough on De Ligt, that's all I'm going to say. But the latest on De Ligt is this, is that Barcelona are struggling to compete with what Manchester United and apparently other clubs have offered. They've got a set structure. A week ago, he looked like he was nailed on to go to Barcelona, but now they are concerned because of the money that Manchester United and other clubs apparently are offering, which is more than Barcelona. They're hanging in there, hoping that because they're Barcelona and they're beautiful, De Ligt will choose to go there for less money. But we'll wait and see. What is for sure is that he won't make his mind up for a couple of weeks because of the Nations Cup. So De Ligt will rumble on with more stories for a couple of weeks yet, but there won't be any definitive signing. I just want to say as well that this summer is probably one of the first summers I've had as a Manchester United fan where I am actually more excited about the departures. I think the departures reminds me of The Departed with Leonardo DiCaprio and Martin Sheen and Mark Wahlberg. It's a very good film. You should watch it. It's one of my favourite films, The Departed. But departures are normally... they're not normally that exciting. But this year with Manchester United, I am genuinely excited about some of the players that we should go. As I said yesterday, you know, I'll talk about the Lingard and Rashford thing if you want. I'd be ecstatic if United sold Lingard. I know that's controversial, but I just think it would send the right message out. I don't think he's actually that good. I think he's a bench player. I think he brings a lot of drama that we just don't need. The thing that him and Rashford put out today, I thought was just arrogant and bad and ill-advised again. But to be honest with you, the more exciting ones are Lukaku. This is coming from Italian reports that terms have been agreed between Romelu Lukaku and Inter Milan, and it's now about agreeing a transfer fee. Now, a lot of people would say this is bollocks because you can't agree terms with a player because that's tapping up before you've agreed the fee with the club. But that's not necessarily going to be the case, because if Manchester United are happy to sell Lukaku to Inter Milan, they may well say, well, can you thrash a deal out with them? Because if you can't, there's no point of it as even... I think in this case, what I'm trying to say is that normally with some transfers, it's like you approach the club, you agree a fee, and then the player sorts his terms out. But I think with the Lukaku deal, it will work the other way, and I think that's why it's coming from Italy that Romelu Lukaku has agreed terms with Inter, and now it's for Inter Milan and Manchester United to agree to the fee themselves, because the issue here is Romelu Lukaku's wages. He's apparently on £250,000 a week. Some people think he's on 170. Whatever it is, that's way out of Inter Milan's comfort zone. So it's... United could say, look, we want 60 million. Inter Milan could say, yeah, we'll give you 60 million, but then they could never agree on the wages of the player. So I think that's what's happening here. So it's encouraging to hear. Apparently Romelu Lukaku was in Italy last week. I don't know whether that's true or not, but it is encouraging to hear that Romelu Lukaku has agreed terms with Inter Milan, and it's now for Manchester United to agree the transfer fee. Now, the transfer fee is also going to be a stumbling block for Inter Milan, which is why last week we heard about Perisic being offered up. And can Inter Milan... I think Manchester United would take 60 million for Lukaku. I would take 60 million for him. I think his first season was relatively good at United, but last season it wasn't particularly good. We overpaid for him in the first place. You take a 15 to 20 million hit after 2 years. It's not really acceptable for a player in his mid-20s, but we bought badly. So you take what you can get and you move on. The interesting thing is that Perisic just isn't the right sort of swap deal. We don't want Perisic. But Icardi was mentioned, and apparently this is just rumour, but we may as well comment on it. Icardi has been offered as part of the deal, but Manchester United, well, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer doesn't want Icardi. I mean, as I said on Twitter this afternoon, this is a bit like somebody saying, you live under a hedge next to the M1 and you're living off roadkill, and somebody comes along and says, you've won the lottery, do you want this £20 million cheque? No, I'm happy living under a hedge, living off roadkill, thanks. I mean, it's like... Do you Lukaku for Icardi? I know it might not work out, but it's just absolutely obvious that you would do that. So I don't think Solskjaer would turn that down, to be honest with you. I certainly would hope not. Ed Woodward says, I'm going to make Manchester United great again. The big trophies are coming back very soon. Nothing will stop us from dominating the Championship with Ollie at the wheel and Woody doing deals. Glory, glory, Manchester United. A little sarcastic Ed Woodward there. And Gordon Murray said, what does it say about our way of getting players in when players reportedly are willing to take a pay cut to leave us? Yes, well, I mean, I'm not going to comment on Pogba tonight. But there was some blue tick merchant on Twitter. You can tell I'm resentful. I haven't got a blue tick. Saying that Paul Pogba's willing to take a pay cut to go to Real Madrid. Well, if he's willing to take a pay cut to go to Real Madrid, absolutely fantastic. That's great, because I don't care what Pogba does with his wages. That doesn't cost me, as a Manchester United fan, anything. What I don't want Manchester United to do is to take a pay cut in the fee that we want from Real Madrid. And Pogba's going to take care of itself. I'm not worried about that. With regards to Lukaku, if Lukaku wants to take a pay cut to go to Italy, great. Again, I couldn't give two shits. I really don't care if Manchester United players want to take a pay cut to leave Manchester United. Good. Get lost. I'm not bothered. What I want to get is good deals for them. I don't want us to take 20 million for Lukaku just to get rid of him. But I am very excited about Lukaku going, because I think Lukaku is a very important player for United to go, because we will never progress with Lukaku to the team that we want to be, because he isn't that sort of player. He's a big game bottler and he's got a terrible first touch. So we'll never be the team we want to be with Lukaku in it. All I'd say about Lukaku is I would have kept him if he was happy to sit on the bench and be the bench option the last 20 minutes, or if he get injuries. But he thinks he's better than that, and I respect him for that. But it's good that he's hopefully going to be going. I think it's a real positive thing for Manchester United. And as I said, some of the departures really do excite me. Hopefully we can get rid of Alexis Sanchez as well, but I don't know. Lingard and Rashford should be getting their heads down and focusing on being a lot better than last season, says Stephen Diak. Look, Lingard and Rashford both put out on Instagram, as far as I'm aware, this image of a percentage, which was 0.14 or something like that, which is a percentage of players that play youth football and end up playing first team football in the Premier League. So basically what that message means to me is that you've had some criticism, and your response to that criticism is to put an arrogant little number out, which basically says, up yours, I've made it. Now, I don't know whether that was the meaning behind the message, but that's how it's been perceived by the public and a lot of Manchester United fans, which yet again shows that Jesse Lingard and Marcus Rashford, the people around them, are clueless. I mean, Jesse Lingard's had a couple of these things this season. Somebody was tweeting off his official account when it was the Busby Babes Memorial a couple of months ago. He did something else with the Manchester Memorial for the bombing, where he put his own little logo on it. So this is 3 times Lingard's done it in the space of 4 months. 3 ill-advised social media posts. And there is the message. Stop doing social media posts. You've had a shit season. Everyone's pissed off with you. Go away for 2 or 3 months, keep your head down, come back when the season starts, start playing well on the football pitch, and the criticism will disappear. I'm fed up of these little violin merchants going, oh, leave Rashi and Lingy alone. They're living the dream. Oh, we've got to leave them alone. We haven't got to leave them alone, because they won't leave us alone. They're on everything. Timelines, interviews, posters. They're the ones who've not taken themselves out of the public eye. To be fair, where's bloody Pogba at the moment? We don't see it. Where's Luke Shaw? Where's everybody else? They've gone quiet because they know they've had a crap season. They want to have a rest. But Rashford and Lingard don't seem to want to have a rest. I know they're playing for England, but they don't seem to want to have a rest. And I think that the post they put out, whatever it meant, and maybe it meant something else, it is perceived as arrogant. It is perceived that you don't like the criticism, so you've come back with, I've made it. Well, the criticism is valid. I don't mind. I think what Raheem Sterling does in relation to the negative press he gets is brilliant, because I think that is unfair, what happens with Raheem Sterling. But I don't think what's happening with Lingard and Rashford is unfair. It's all because they're playing crap. So just get back on the football pitch and play well, and it will spin. Don't take criticism like that personally. Like, you're a footballer, you're playing bad, you're going to get criticism. When you play well again, you'll get the praise. That's what it is. But coming out with arrogant I've made it posts, it's just ill-advised. And I feel sorry for Lingard, because whoever he's got behind him is ill-advised. It's 3 in the space of 4 months. 3 really idiotic posts in the space of 4 months. And he's not doing himself any favours, and it's sad, because he is a youth product, and youth products should be treated better than others, because it's just the way we are. Lo Celso looks like he's going to go to Spurs, Murph 1990, but we did speak about him on the Transfer Daily this morning, if anybody didn't see it. Very interesting. Right, let's talk about Sergio Ramos. Sergio Ramos. I was getting into trouble on Twitter today. You should always follow me on Twitter, to be honest. You should always follow me on Twitter, because it's good. But effectively, Sergio Ramos is going to leave Real Madrid, apparently. He's going to leave Real Madrid, and he's going to go to... they're talking about going to China. But some United fans are going to be... are saying that with regards to Ramos, Manchester United should be signing him. And I said, I don't want Manchester United to go anywhere near Sergio Ramos, because with regards to Sergio Ramos, he did try to come to us a couple of years ago. He played us. He got a new contract at Real Madrid, and he's 33 now. And I don't dispute the fact that would you have Sergio Ramos at Manchester United? I don't dispute the fact that Sergio Ramos is better than Phil Jones and Chris Smalling. Me and bloody Mr. Joshua Peavy are better than those two. But the point is, Manchester United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, what are we meant to be doing? What are we meant to be doing at Manchester United? We are meant to be rebuilding the club. We are meant to be looking long term. Getting Sergio Ramos, remember there will be a transfer fee because he's under contract. So whatever the transfer fee is, could be 30 to 40 million. His wages could be 300 to 400,000 pounds a week, and he's 33. He doesn't tick any box of suitability for Manchester United. He won't be here long term. He wants a big payday. He is on the decline, and we'd have to pay a transfer fee. But you've still got people arguing with me going, he's better than Jones and Smalling. Well, yes, he is. But there are loads of other centre-backs that are better than Jones and Smalling that could be here for a number of years. I'd rather have Harry Maguire than Sergio Ramos because Harry Maguire will be here for 3, 4, 5 years. Sergio Ramos, we've got to... This is the mentality that worries me about United fans. I think you've got to start moving away from this short-termism. Oh, let's get him. He's world-class. Sergio Ramos is still one of the best centre-backs in the world. I think Sergio Ramos is still a very, very good centre-back, but what does he offer Manchester United in the immediate future? He could come in and be a world-class striker for 1, maybe 2 seasons, but we're not winning the league in the next 2 seasons, so what's the point in having him? We've got to build. And that's my feeling about him. Chloe Jenkins, Mark Madrid said today Ramos and his agent asked to leave for free to China, and Perez told them no. Exactly. I don't think we're in for Sergio Ramos at all, but I do think it makes quite interesting reading to see what people are saying in relation to bringing a player like that in, because I don't think it's the right thing to do. I've just realised actually it's Tuesday night, so I'm going to try and get Adam on from Get French Football News, because we had him on last week. A lot of people liked it, and we should be able to get a little bit of an update on anything United related with regards to that. Let's see if he'll pick up. Good evening, Adam. How are you? I'm
very good. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. Great to have you on again. You were on last week. Get French Football News, or GFFN. What can you tell us then, Adam, this week in relation to Manchester United and any sort of the French connection?
Indeed, yes. We spoke a lot last week about a number of players. Thomas Meunier, Nicolas Pepe, and Tanguy Ndombele were 3 of the sort of standout ones. So I've got sort of brief updates on all 3 of those players, and obviously. There's been a lot of talk about Moussa Dembele and even Kevin Strootman in France, and even Sky have been reporting on him as well this week. So as far as Thomas Meunier goes, it seems that Arsenal are now interested too, with Unai Emery obviously knowing Thomas Meunier from his time at PSG, and then the 2 of them working together pretty well. Thomas Tuchel was keen to get rid of Meunier after a bit of a frustrating injury-hit season. Doesn't fancy him at right back, and obviously, as we discussed last week, he's a bit of a United fan is Thomas Meunier, and he would be interested in that move, and United have been interested in the past as well. But if obviously, as we discussed last week, the factor of Champions League football is a bit of a sort of Damocles over many Manchester United transfers head, and if Arsenal make the Champions League, then budget allowing, as far as we understand, Unai Emery would be keen, as France Football reported, to add Thomas Meunier to his team. So there's competition there for United.
That's a little bit of a worry, just to jump in there, because I've been saying for a long time that I think Thomas. I mean, a lot of our fans want Wan-Bissaka, and he's a good signing, but I think Thomas Meunier would be a good right back to bring in. I think he's 28 now. He's experienced. He gets a lot of assists, but the fact that there may be competition for him now obviously will boost the price up from what I think. I think he probably would be available with 1 year left on his contract for about 25 million. But maybe if Arsenal are interested, that might bump it up a bit.
Yeah, you could get something of a competition, sort of a bidding war. I think you'd be right that PSG would take sort of 25, 30 million for him, given, as you mentioned, his age, and they only signed him for 7 million, so they're getting a bit of an upgrade. And there are clubs that need to get rid of players to make up a FFP deficit. So yeah, absolutely, I think he'd be available for around that fee. Nicolas Pepe was one we kind of poured cold water on a little bit last week, but
yeah, I remember.
Slight hope for United fans this week, in that there's nothing concrete or new on him, but France Football reported that United were one of the teams who are clearly interested in him. So at least there's a genuine, as far as the French media are concerned, interest from United in Pepe, along with Liverpool and Arsenal as well. There's a 60 million offer from Inter Milan. and PSG and Atletico Madrid also keen, but at least United have been included in a list of clubs that are as far as France football are concerned, are looking directly at him. So that's positive, at least.
But I think just for those who weren't listening last week, you feel that the fact that Lille have qualified for the Champions League, that Pepe would probably be looking for Champions League, which we know Manchester United cannot offer. So that was one of the reasons you felt that it probably wouldn't happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I still feel it's extremely unlikely, but it's a slight sort of improvement on the situation last week, because obviously the factor of Champions League football is a big one with Pepe, and he's got a sort of a list of criteria, and you don't necessarily fit that. But if there was a huge offer, that came in for him at Lille, they're pretty determined to sell him because he's worth so much money, and there wasn't a competitor for whatever reason, then it's slightly more possible than last week. So I've upgraded a little bit on my optimism for Nicola Pepe.
Great stuff. Carry on. I know just to jump in there, let's get it out of the way. This Kevin Strootman thing. I mean, we just feel over here that it's Sky Sports just running a silly story, but I don't know whether you know where that came from. Are Lyon looking to move him on?
Yeah, Marseille are definitely looking
Marseille,
to
Lyon.
Yeah, and whether it is just Sky Sports is a little bit unknown at the moment, but we've been reporting it as 3 Premier League clubs who have been offered him, because he had a pretty terrible season at Marseille. He was signed in the window when Zambo Anguissa went to Fulham for 30 million, and obviously Rudy Garcia, who was Marseille manager, left at the end of the season, knew him from Roma, and obviously Strootman's had his highlights in the past, and they sort of wanted to team up again. They reinvested that money from Zambo in him, and he's frankly been pretty terrible, and he's been sitting on the bench. Other players have been preferred, and the president, Frank McCourt, has been pretty upset to see that. So it's very likely that he'll be moved along, and I think West Ham and Everton were the other 2 Premier League clubs supposedly he was offered to. You were talking previously about United need to build in your intro there, about United need to build for the future, and I think Kevin Strootman would be a complete opposite transfer in terms of philosophy for that idea. His knee injuries have clearly hampered his ability to play at the highest level, and I would argue that even though he's only 29, he's kind of edging towards the twilight of his career. So for United, for aspirations Manchester United have, that would be a pretty poor transfer. I don't see them going for that, but the link is there, so it's a possibility. But I would argue that it's unlikely from United's part.
Well, with Strootman, I think we were in for him 5 years ago because it was before the World Cup before last, and then he did that knee injury. And yeah, I think you're right. He's not what United need. Glenn Goodwin says, ask him if it's possible to get Dembele from Barcelona. I mean, played in Spain, but a French player, Ousmane Dembele. Have you heard anything about him?
Unfortunately, not from a Manchester United point of view. I think that Dembele's been quite fortunate in the second half of the season in that he's improved significantly at Barcelona. When they signed him and Philippe Coutinho for sort of trying to replace Neymar with two players, he started very erratically at Barcelona and was injured. But in the second half of the season, he's added a lot to the team. And I think that although Coutinho is someone that might be close to the exit door of Barcelona, of those 2 players, I think Dembele will be at Barcelona for at least 1 more season. But nothing concrete on him moving in the French press, and I would say that's quite unlikely.
Yeah, because they've also got Malcolm as well. Talking about Dembele's, I know you were going to talk about him anyway. Moussa Dembele, that sort of kicked off again with United in the latter part of last week. I know we've been linked to him before. I'm sure you're aware yourself, because even I heard it, that the Lyon, because you mentioned this last week, that Lyon probably will only look to sell 2 players. I think it was their chairman or their CEO saying that Fekir would be in addition to 2 exits. So Lyon probably going to sell 3 players. Do you see Manchester United certainly seem to be very heavily linked with Moussa Dembele?
They do, yeah, absolutely. And as far as we understand at GFFN, that Dembele is going to be a difficult transfer to pull off, because Lyon at the moment have little intention to sell him. As you mentioned, the president, Jean-Michel Aulas, has said that he would be selling 2 players in addition to Fekir at maximum, and it looks like one of those will be Ferland Mendy, a left back who's done very well this season, linked with Real Madrid heavily, although they're a little bit far apart on the asking prices as far as the French media are concerned. And the other one would be Ndombele, and alongside Fekir, which was obviously another player linked with United. And L'Equipe actually reported Ndombele's departure as certain this week, so that's possibly a plus point for United fans too, given that they're one of the clubs that would be competing for him. But yes, Dembele seems unlikely for that reason, and for the fact that Lyon in general have little intention to sell him. There has supposedly been a bid made for Dembele by United up to 46 million euros, which I guess is about £40 million. But there'll be also reports that Manchester United had sort of approached teammates and former managers to get a sort of an idea of his character. And there's even a suggestion that Eric Cantona has been involved in sort of pushing that deal internally a little bit forward. But Lyon have said that a sale is not on the agenda. Was their quote. So it might be difficult to get over the line, but there is interest from Man United, and a bid has been made.
Yeah, well, certainly, and I think, like you say there, we've just had another question from Smiling Menace talking about Aouar, I think that's how you pronounce it, from Lyon, and will he be moving on this summer? But I think you've more or less answered that it probably looks like it's going to be the fullback Mendy and obviously Fekir and Ndombele. Just on the point of Tango and Ndombele, I know we spoke about him last week. It's gone a little bit quiet with United. I'm sure United are in for him, but I just don't feel that United will get him, even though to me, he would be absolutely perfect. I just feel that some of the comments from the president, I think he's pushed him to PSG, and then a couple of weeks before that it was Juventus. Maybe he will push him towards United in a couple of weeks, because he does seem to change his mind.
He does, and it's definitely a possibility, because I think from as far as Jean-Michel Aulas is concerned, as far as his point of view is concerned, he's just looking for the best deal. And Manchester United, given the resources available at United, then they're definitely capable of paying the transfer fee that he would be after, which he is using that Paul Pogba move from Juventus to United as sort of a guide price for Ndombele, them being very similar-ish kind of players, I guess, filling a very similar role in the team, perhaps interpreting that role quite differently. So United possibly would be one of those clubs that could pay 80, 90 million for Tanguy Ndombele, and Aulas, if they offered it, I imagine he'd be very, very keen to accept it. So it's definitely a possibility.
Doc Diablo says, now that Janino is at Lyon, I don't think they'll sell Ndombele. And Prithwash Prasad says, Mark, I really want to put... Oh, no, we'll come back to that because it's about Lingard. There's a couple of people asking here. I suppose they're quite high-profile names. I'll just ask you. We've got Adam on from Get French Football News. Neymar, Griezmann. We know Griezmann's going to leave. There was always that indication it was going to be Barcelona, but Barcelona at the moment do seem to be struggling with deals that everybody has been assuming for months would happen, like Griezmann and De Ligt. And also Neymar. Do you see him moving this summer as well?
Neymar, I would say no. I would sort of underline the fact that PSG see him as understandably as sort of a marquee kind of signing and essential to their plans. And they're famous for playing hardball on certain transfers, PSG. And even if he agitated to move, I think that would be extremely unlikely. The PSG would want to sell him. It would be a pretty big PR disaster, and another aspect to that story for them. So I think that's very unlikely. And again, the Champions League thing for Neymar in particular would be pretty prohibitive. But as far as Griezmann is concerned, perhaps slightly more possible. But the sort of general impression is that he'll go to Barcelona and that he won't go to PSG. The French press have been pretty sort of forceful on that. Thomas Tuchel's kind of ruled it out as saying it's pretty unrealistic at the moment given their FFP situation. But I haven't seen United linked in the French media, or as far as we're concerned recently. Obviously, they'd be interested, but again, he's probably in the top 5 players in the world, I would imagine. So it's quite unlikely that he would move to a team again without Champions League football, which is an unfortunate thing to repeat. But I think that might be a bit of a reality in this situation. But still not entirely sure where he'll go. But Barcelona looks the most likely.
There's a few people in the live comments talking about Rabiot. As I understand it, I don't think he can announce his future until the end of June anyway, because that's when his contract officially ends.
Yeah, there's been no updates on Rabiot so far in the past week. But yeah, his contract will end this June. I think he could theoretically announce that he's signed another deal at another club, but no progression on the negotiations with him of any club as far as the French media are concerned this week.
And De Gea, PSG, anything you can give us on that? There's a lot of United fans definitely over the weekend. There just seem to be a lot of stories that United won't give De Gea what he wants. 1 year left on his contract. And for me, there's only 2 options for De Gea. I don't see him going to Real Madrid. I think it would be Juventus or PSG.
Yeah, I think that's relatively likely. I think Real Madrid are pretty sorted with their goalkeeping options. They've got sort of Zidane's got a choice between Courtois and Keylor Navas, and I don't think that they'll be looking to replace either of those as first choice. So yes, I think if he was to leave, it would be PSG or Juventus. And PSG, perhaps at the biggest club that are in need of a goalkeeper, given that Gianluigi Buffon's move hasn't really gone well on the pitch. He's been sort of a good sort of leader off the pitch, but he made 2 mistakes at the weekend, and they lost to Reims in the last game in France. They lost 3-1. He made a couple of errors. He's been pretty poor this year, as Man United fans will recall in that Champions League game for Parc des Princes. And Alphonse Areola's developed, but still not necessarily a top level goalkeeper. So it's possible, but again, it's one of those ones that's a little bit early in the window to see PSG, given the FFP restrictions, focusing on De Gea, because I know Thomas Tuchel likes Alphonse Areola, so it's likely he'll continue his first choice. And at the moment, that seems unlikely.
Okay, Adam, and the last one I want to ask you about, because I can see the name popping up loads, is Yuri Tielemans, still a Monaco player, but quite clearly I think he's going to move, and you would imagine with his sort of audition in the Premier League at Leicester that he probably would be coming back to the Premier League. Any indication on where that might be, or if that will be the case?
At the moment, not to United, but I think it's very likely that he'll leave Monaco for sure. Obviously did very well at Leicester in that second half of the season, but Leonardo Jardim, who's now returned as Monaco coach, having left, and they did very poorly under Thierry Henry. He famously is not a big sort of fan of his. He doesn't necessarily see him as the player that he wants in that position. So I would argue that it's pretty likely, or very likely even, that he will leave. And Manchester United would be a destination that makes sense for sure for Tielemans. Given that he did so well in the Premier League with Leicester, and that he's a developing player, as you were talking about previously, and he's a player of a lot of potential. Obviously, actually has quite a lot of experience, given he broke through Anderlecht at what very, very young age, 16, 17, and has a surprising amount of professional games under his, sort of senior games under his belt. So United would be given where the club are at the moment, it'd be the right sort of move. But no suggestions that that's a deal that's sort of in progress at the moment for United.
Just a final question from me, Adam. When does the French transfer window open? Is it? I presume it's not open yet, because we're sort of on. We've had our transfer window for a couple of weeks now, and obviously nothing's happening. But the French league finished on Friday night, didn't it? So I would imagine. Well, then again, we've got internationals, so it's sort of like you're in that. I think until this international tournament's out of the way, then. But then again, not everybody's in it. It's sort of like the transfer window never really does get going, does it? Because it's like everyone's, it's going to happen, but everyone's back training again in July, and we're going to be halfway through June by the time all these internationals are over.
Yeah, you're right. Some of the French teams will actually return at the end of June. As far as the window goes, it opens in June. I think at the end of the month, possibly. Right. It'll be in June sometime. But I think that this is the kind of period of the season when it's relatively fluid, because although some of those deals might not actually go through until the transfer window opens, that they're still obviously being negotiated, and given there's no football between, at least club football between now, apart from the Champions League final and Europa League final, between now and the start of next season, deals are announced even though they might not go through until the start of the window. So it almost doesn't matter too much, because they haven't obviously got any club commitments. So the difference in the transfer window, perhaps when it closed, obviously the Premier League window closing slightly earlier would obviously be a bit of a hindrance to some of the deals going through in France at the end of the window. But it won't matter too much when it opens in the next month or so, because those deals will be sort of discussed and finalised, even if the window's not open, because there's no commitments for players between now and then.
Well, yeah, the French football season's over now, isn't it? Finished on Friday, so hopefully we'll start to see some manoeuvrability with the whole of Europe, but certainly in relation to United and any deals that we're going to get through. Look, Adam, get French football news, GFFN. Give yourselves a shout out for your socials, and really appreciate you popping on again. No worries. It's at GFFN for sort of all the latest transfer speculation and reports and from the French media, and obviously loads of great opinion pieces and podcasts, and loads of really sort of dense coverage of French football and Ligue 1 and transfer negotiations ongoing in France. And my personal Twitter is _Adam_White_, and I talk about French football and European football in general. One final thing, actually, Mark, before I go, one thing United fans might be interested in is a couple of very younger players who are in the sort of lower echelons of the French game at the moment, a 16 and 15-year-old from Monaco and Lyon, who United are supposedly very interested in. They're called Hannibal Medjbury and Ryan Cherki, who play at Monaco and Lyon respectively. One is a midfielder, 16-year-old midfielder. United are very keen to sign. He's sort of in a bit of a contract dispute with Monaco at the moment, but he potentially could be available relatively soon. United are very interested in him, very highly thought of youngster. And Cherki, who's at Lyon, is a very exciting winger. It's a brilliant goal that we tweeted and scored for the under 17s, I think.
He's currently 15. Played in the UEFA Youth League, was a young player scorer in that tournament, and he's a really exciting prospect. And he can't sign a professional deal until August when he turns 16. And United are one of the clubs who are hoping to sort of nip in there and offer him a pro deal before he turns 16, so he can sort of get in there before Lyon do. So two interesting players, perhaps a little under the radar, but to keep an eye on. Two exciting prospects that United could be keen on.
No, definitely, and it's something United have been doing for a number of years. In fact, something we're very good at doing is signing these talents up from around Europe who are 15, 16. We haven't really seen any of them come through yet, but I think that is another strategy from Manchester United to avoid having to pay these big transfer fees that we have been paying over the last 6 years. There's a lot of work going into that, so that's very interesting. We'll certainly keep an eye on that. Thanks for coming on, Adam, again, and hopefully we'll get you on again next week.
Brilliant. Cheers, Mark. Cheers, guys.
Thank you very much. Thanks to Adam there for coming on. Thanks everyone who was chucking questions in there. I like it. I like it as a weekly little few minutes where we can get Adam on from Get French Football News and just get a little bit of roundup on the French thing, because there does seem to be a big French connection this summer with Manchester United. I think maybe Italy will come into it. Maybe not Spain so much, but look, we might, as I say, we might lose the hair there. Daniel Ailman says, how much do you perspire during love in ounces? I mean, there's silly people in there. There was another question, can you ask him where my dad is? I haven't seen him in years. But look, the reality is, I want to take some of your questions now. Apparently, Danny Welbeck's going to Everton, says Paul Hewitt. I thought it might be going into a Rashford joke there. Mike Lilly says, love the channel. Look, if you love that sort of content, if you love the channel, smash a like. Make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Loads going on. We do try and mix it up. Thanks to Adam, says Sally Dover has said. Despite what many say, we need a few senior players as we have a massive issue with our culture, says Marlon85. I agree and I disagree with you there, Marlon, because I think that the perception is that experienced players are people like Perisic, who are 20, who are 30, or Bale, who are 30. And we're trying to hijack the De Ligt deal to Barcelona. And he is the most experienced leader probably in Europe, one of in Europe at the moment, and he's 19 years of age. Experience, we can't be ageist here. We can't be ageist. People think experience is somebody who's been playing for years and years, but you can buy a player who's just got so much belief and leadership in them that it doesn't actually matter. It's about the right recruitment, and I think that's what Manchester United need to look at, because what I say is, look, of course, stereotypically, an experienced player could be somebody like a Perisic or a Gareth Bale. Of course it could, and they've got a lot of experience. But we've also got people like Juan Mata, who's very experienced, who doesn't make much of an impact on the team. He's an individual. He's an individual player, but people think, oh, he has a great impact on the dressing room. Well, he clearly doesn't, because the team's shit. Ashley Young wears the captain's armband. He's not a leader. He's not a captain, but he's in his mid-50s. He's very experienced. Phil Jones, Chris Smalling, they're very experienced. We've got a lot. Matic, very experienced, but they're not making any impact on that team. And for anybody who says that they do, the evidence is out there. Look at what we've been doing for the last couple of years. Look at what we did at the first few months of the season and the last few months of the season, when all these players with experience were involved and they couldn't get that team up. They were hiding. They were looking away. We saw them all. They were all hiding and playing crap. So you've got to be careful about that experience. It's more about the right personalities. That's what that team needs. It needs people who are going to grab hold of that team, grab hold of that ball. And that team, it's always the cliche to talk about Roy Keane, but that team needs somebody who is going to get the team up. Like we had a game on Saturday, the United Stand FC. We were doing quite well. The game started to go away from us. I was the manager and Flex was the captain. And I was shouting at players, and some respond and some don't. I got Flex to come over a couple of times, and I said, "You've got to grab them and do this. You've got to do it, because they're not necessarily responding to the voice on the side, but you're in there amongst the troops. Grab hold of them and give them a kick up the arse." And he did, and he was like, "Come on, And you need that on the pitch, which is why it amazes me how Mourinho, who was very, very successful at Chelsea because he had one of the best captains in Premier League history under John Terry, knobhead off the pitch, but a brilliant captain on it. You need that player on the pitch. You do. I've played football. You've played football. I've managed football. You've stood on the sidelines as well. You need the player on the pitch. But Mourinho at United just seemed to dismiss it. Oh, I'll just pick the captain who's been here the longest, or throw it up in the air, whoever catches it. And it's wrong. You do need a leader on the pitch. And That's what Manchester United need. Experience, take it or leave it. Leadership is the most important thing. I want to see somebody on that pitch when things are going wrong, bollocking people, getting the team up. I saw Lindelof doing it a little bit last season. I saw Ashley Young with his hands on his hips. Actions speak volumes. Zahab Sajid says, Mark, please give this 30-second video I made on birds about Woodward watch. It's hilarious. Also, keep up the great work. That's at ZUHAIB _ SAJJAD. Well, there you go. I'm sure a lot of people will give that a watch. I'll certainly give it a watch afterwards. Timpala Kemp, hi Mark. Do you think the Chuckle brothers and Ashley Young will play at Manchester United next season? Oh yes. Oh yes. I'm like the Churchill dog. Oh yes. Yes, definitely. Definitely will be here next season, Ashley Young. Definitely Phil Jones and Chris Smalling. They are not going anywhere. Nowhere near going anywhere. How do you think James will be announced? Says Felicity Dell. Look, I know we've had a bit of a disrupted week because it's actually Tuesday and it was bank holiday yesterday. Get yourself every morning, 7 a.m, watching the United Stand for Transfer Daily. Because a lot of what's been spoken about today has been spoken about on the Transfer Daily this morning. Lo Celso, Daniel James. I mean, basically, I opened up the show this morning by saying that Daniel James will be announced this week, and I think it will. There's rumours it's going to happen tomorrow. Obviously, if it does, we'll go live. But I certainly think Daniel James will be announced. I don't think there'll be a fanfare. I don't think he's going to come in playing a double bass or or riding a bloody skateboard. I think United would just go back to traditional. Let's just reveal a player signing for Manchester United. I don't want piano players and stuff like that. I just want people playing for Manchester United because they want to be here. I think that Sanchez deal was a bad deal, but also, is he signing for us or are we signing him? The bloody piano player. He should be overawed to be at United, to be honest. And I think that's what United need to go back to. Just sign him up, get him in the new shirt, and move on to the next one, and let's get on with the tour. Walid Alagami says, how are you feeling about not being able to draw top players due to a lack of Champions League? If that's a serious question, I'll answer it. My serious answer to this is there are Champions League clubs all around Europe and there are Champions League clubs in England who won't be able to attract this quality of player that we will in the Europa League. So I think you're right in some ways. I think there's certain players we can't sign because we're not in the Champions League, and that would be people such as maybe a Griezmann, maybe a Neymar, but there are certain players that Spurs and Liverpool and Arsenal won't be able to sign, and Chelsea won't be able to sign, and Man City won't be able to sign, that we will be able to sign because we pay the money. So it swings and roundabouts. We've just got to make sure we sign the right player. There will not be, I believe Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when he said there is you'd be surprised at the queue of players wanting to come to this club, and there will be a queue of players. But the trouble is, in that queue of players waiting to come to United, as you walk down it, they should all be on a bloody plank, and you can just kick them off. No, money grabber, past it, time waster, lazy, kick them off. That's what we need to go down the list and do. There won't be a shortage of people queuing up to come to United, but we've got to get the right sort of player. And as I said, if you're offering me Sergio Ramos or Harry Maguire, of course, if it's just for now, you go Sergio Ramos. But we're trying to build a club. We're not winning the league next year. So I'd go Harry Maguire because he's actually a player that's going to be with us for 5 or 6 years. Sergio Ramos, you're going to have to get another centre-back in a year or two. And we ain't going to win the league in that time. Look, would I like Sergio Ramos at United? No, because he's too old now and he's not going to come anyway. But he is definitely the sort of leader we need. But we should be looking for the next Sergio Ramos, not the retiring Sergio Ramos. Thoughts on Werner, says Jagrup Singh Kala. I like Timo Werner. I think he will end up going to Bayern Munich, though. But although there doesn't seem to be... I always thought that Timo Werner was going to Bayern Munich, but Bayern Munich seems to be spending a lot of money. Bayern Munich have been mentioned in relation to De Ligt. Like the latest I've read about De Ligt is that Barcelona are crapping themselves because they thought they had the deal done, and it's going to be embarrassing if he goes elsewhere. They feel that De Ligt wants to come to Barcelona. They felt that the deal was done, but Mino Raiola's been offering him about, and 2 other clubs, Bayern Munich and Manchester United, have apparently offered a lot more than Barcelona want to offer. So, but I don't know how Bayern Munich have offered the money because Bayern Munich are buying up a lot of players this summer. So I don't really see De Ligt going to Bayern Munich. But Timo Werner's meant to be going there as well. So I always thought that Werner would end up at somewhere like Liverpool, to be honest. But he'd be a good signing for United. But there's not really much link to it. If anyone watches my FIFA 19 career mode on That's Football, I have got De Ligt at centre back, and I have got Timo Werner, although he's on the bench a lot because I've just bought Ronaldo. Werner is good, but he'll stay in Germany, says Tom Howlett. How reliable are the sources for Lukaku to Inter, says Haroon Khan. Well, if you want to give it me, if you want me to give it a sort of mark out of 10, I would put it around the 60 to 70% mark. I've watched Italian football for probably, I don't want to give my age away, but over 20 years, and there are quite a few people look, Lukaku and Inter's been talked about a lot. Whether people are putting it on into papers and like some of them are, it's been spoken about a lot, Lukaku and Inter. And if you've been following United, Lukaku's been dropping hints about Italy a lot for most of last season. So it's no secret that Lukaku and a move to Italy, specifically Inter Milan, is on the cards. The financial package has got to be right, and really it's going to come down to how United do it. Is there anybody at Inter Milan that's going to enhance us? Well, yeah, Skriniar, but they won't let Skriniar go. Icardi, I don't know whether they'd do that. Perisic, he's not the right player for United. I just feel that I like Perisic, but it's like we're getting Perisic just so we can sell Lukaku. It's not actually who we're looking for. Abraham Martinez, I would love to see Hirving Lozano come to Manchester United. I think he will end up at Napoli. I would be ecstatic. It would be the end of a journey if we bought Lozano. I remember, just go on, if you ever get time on YouTube, just type the United stand Lozano and go to the oldest video. I think I was in a hotel room in London. It was probably 3-4 years ago. He was playing in Mexico at the time. I've been a massive fan of Lozano for so long. I get Lozano's in my FIFA 19 football team as well. I don't think it would happen, but I would be so excited if we got him. I really, really would. The structure at Manchester United is messed up, says Benjamin Wawa. Yeah, well, we're going to have to just be patient then with that, aren't we? We will have to be patient with that. I'll drive him to the airport and pay his plane ticket to Italy, says Sally Deverett 7. Recap, says Zanrick Spies. I'm late. Why are you late? Why are you late then? You tell us why you're late, and then I'll think about giving you a recap. And it better be something good. Not like, I was watching the end of Britain's Got Talent, yeah, it's got to be something good. I want to see some good excuses for being late, and I'll give you a recap. Abdul Jabbar says lasagna. I love it. Yeah, I'm not aware of a player called lasagna, but I do love it. Zahab wants a recap as well, and Zeman. Well, give me a good excuse. Leon Bailey or Pepe, says Kirill Wright. Look, I'm a big fan of Leon Bailey as well, but I think I would go Pepe. Nicola Pepe, definitely, yeah. I think we should loan Rashford, says Devon Patel. Where do you think, how do you feel about Lingard and Rashford at the moment? And I say this with real regret, that there seems to be an arrogance from them both, which, I mean, them posts today are just arrogant. I don't care what anybody says. It comes across as, when you put a tweet out about the percentage of players who make it to be a footballer, and you're a footballer, it says, well, I've made it. But the criticism is because you've been crap, lads. Take it on board. Don't fight criticism unless it's an unjust criticism. The criticism you're getting is the season's over and everybody just seeing you everywhere. And you're swanning around like, like nothing's happened last season. Like nothing did happen for you because you were shit. Like people are just fed up of the United team at the moment. What we want to see is no one from the United team at the moment until the start of July. Go on holiday, keep your head down, be quiet, don't do any dancing videos, don't show off. United fans are pissed off. We've been embarrassed. We've finished 6th in the league. You got beat by bloody Cardiff on the last game of the season. We don't want to see you. But the season's ended, and all we've seen is Rashford and Lingard. And then they've put out this post today, which is like in response to critics, but just comes across as arrogant. They've got really bad people around them who think they understand social media, and they're making them look even worse. Because I don't for 1 minute think Rashford and Lingard are doing their own Instagram and Twitter. No, I don't think that they are. I think the people around them are desperately trying to make them popular again. But listen, if you want to make them popular, right, they're on hundreds of thousands of pounds a week. They're going to make millions and millions of pounds. 2 months of social media quietness. Whilst you might not sell as many J Ling t-shirts, Just 2 months. Football should come first, not your bloody media page, not your social media followers, not your clothing line. Football should come first. The fans are pissed off. Get your head down, be quiet, come back when we're all feeling a bit more positive in July. Let's go again. And most important of all, lads, it's not a witch hunt. It's not unjust. You played shit. Come back next season and play to your potential, and everyone will love you again. That's just the way football is. But we just don't seem to. It doesn't seem to sink in at all. They're still everywhere. Icardi could be a reality, says Wakas Akram. If Lukaku goes to Inter, I'd love to see Icardi at Manchester United. I don't think we will. Billy T says 100% they do their own media pages. Well, there was that tweet that went out from Lingard when the memorial was going on from Munich, wasn't it? And I don't think it was him doing it. They all have people running their Twitter accounts. There's no way Rashford and Lingard are sat there doing theirs. Charles B says, Mark, any update on Sean Longstaff? Not at the moment, Charles. Not heard anything about it. Wouldn't surprise me if we did sign him. But, yeah, nothing at the moment. Get Beckham back out of retirement, says Finn Turtle. You know, I'd love to see David Beckham back at Manchester United. Not at his age, 20 years younger, but yeah, he was a leader as well. You know, the people forget that about that team. Yeah, Roy Keane wore the captain's armband, and he's definitely the best Premier League captain there's ever been. But Beckham, Stam, people like they were all leaders in their own way. That's what Sir Alex Ferguson did. He bought a team or built a team of leaders because it was his personality which then sort of fell onto everybody else. We need that back. Daniel James, I would say, will sign this week. We'll have to wait and see, but I think he will be revealed this week. And why not Milan Skriniar for Lukaku, says Fakrul Chowdhury. He's just signed a new contract. Inter Milan will not want to sell Skriniar. I would say that Inter Milan would rather keep Skriniar and not get Lukaku, so that won't happen. Donnarumma as De Gea replacement, says Sean O'Reilly. I would like to see that. And okay, we've had a good comment here from Intane, and he's a member of the United Stand Members Club, so I will take notice of him. He says, could you do a recap, please, Mark? I was playing Fortnite. At least you're being bloody honest. Right, the recap is that Lukaku has agreed terms with Inter Milan. This is coming from Italian sources, that he's agreed personal terms. There's some even talking that he's actually agreed to take a pay cut. That is interesting. And now it's about Manchester United and Inter Milan sorting out a fee, and it could involve a player. Ramos is going to leave Real Madrid, apparently. Some United fans think we should go for Ramos. I don't think that we should do. He's 33. He costs a lot of money. And we're meant to be building something, not a retirement home. That's where I stand on that. With regards to Adam from Get French Football News, who came on, he comes on every Tuesday, he was saying that with regards to Nicola Pepe, it doesn't look likely, but United are linked to him. Doesn't feel that Moussa Dembele will leave Lyon, because Lyon will only sell 2 players plus Fekir. He thinks, well, obviously Fekir's going to go, Mendy the left back, and probably Ndombele, so unlikely that Moussa Dembele will even leave Lyon. And that would probably be the same for Memphis Depay, wouldn't it, as well? What else was he talking about? Meunier, looks like there might be some competition for Meunier if United are interested from Arsenal. And Griezmann, probably going to Barcelona. PSG, nothing heard about De Gea at the moment. So, yeah, that's pretty much where we're at with it. Remember, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m, Transfer Daily. And we had the vlog go up today from the Legends game. A little bit late, not our fault, but there you go. Please do smash a like on the video. We nearly are at 1,000 likes. And make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're new. Thanks everyone for watching tonight. I do enjoy the Tuesday night show when we get Adam on. And no updates on the Pedro deal, Devon, at the moment, unfortunately. Yeah, imagine how many red cards Ramos would get in the Premier League as well. He is world class, I don't dispute that, but he's not what we need at the moment. I am firm on that, I really am. Thanks everyone for watching. Fantastic comments in the live comments as per usual. Please do smash a like, subscribe if you're new, and I shall see you at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning, unless something happens tonight. I actually was live at 11:30 last night with an alert update, so it can happen. So make sure you subscribed, make sure you click your bell and get your notifications on, and I shall see you very soon. And just as a final shout out, we've got a new member, which is Carlos Ines. Welcome to the club, Carlos. You'll get your little badge next to your name and access to the emojis, etc, etc. In fact, I'm just about to put up a new poll for our members, which is on the homepage community tab. So if you are a member, get yourself over there. Thanks for all the love and the nice comments. There are actually people, I wasn't being arrogant there. Somebody just said love the show. So there you go. Speak to you all soon. Back tomorrow morning.